So that will all, but the trouble is that program, and as nearly every municipal broadband program, will fail. If history is any guide, that is. I mean, and taxpayers will end up on the hook pouring untold sums down into a virtual drain. A few years back, when broadband was beginning to become more and more common in American households, it seems as every politician in the country was obsessed with bridging the digital divide. The world was divided into those who were stuck with dial-up, slow for sure, but still connected to the internet, and those zipping along on broadband speeds. Never mind that it was a vibrant free market that created the demand for broadband and the technology that made broadband faster and cheaper, with competition pushing prices down and bringing the service up. And left to flourish, that market would continue to expand and narrow that digital divide, and it would pretty much make it all disappear. But, as always seemed the case, government doesn't think the market works fast enough. Something has to be done, and that something has to be spending lots of other people's money to bring free broadband to people who didn't have it yet, what we call Muni Wi-Fi. Again, the intention may have been good, but the results have been bad. Government is simply not careful with how it spends other people's money, and frankly doesn't have anything close to the expertise necessary to compete one of the fiercest and fastest changing markets in the world. And the list of cities with failed Muni Wi-Fi systems is long, and they're as small as a town of 1,000 and as big as cities like Philadelphia and Boston and Chicago. Even the most technologically savvy city in the country, San Francisco, had tried their hand at municipal broadband, and it just hasn't worked. In Chaska, Minnesota, municipal wireless network cost 50% more than they planned, and customers hated it and didn't use it anyway. In St. Cloud, Florida, a large number of users for the city's free wireless service led to significant congestion. So they said it was free. When something's free, everybody wants it. Put too many people on it, it becomes slow, then everybody leaves. And all that money is spent for something that really isn't necessary for life. It's not as if broadband is a vital utility like water or electricity or even phone. But one of my favorite stories is in Portland, another city that prides itself on its technological savvy. They entered into a contract with a company called MetroFi out of San Jose, entered a contract in 2006 where the city of Portland was going to operate a wireless internet access service that would be free to everybody. But MetroFi would build it and kind of public partnership, and everything would be fine. Yet, barely a year later, MetroFi had suspended all construction of the project when it was only third of the way completed. And by June of last year, the company announced that it was scuttling the project altogether. In fact, as the city of Portland tried to figure out what was going on, they discovered that even the company's website had been taken down, and it was literally get out of Dodge. They didn't want to be talked to. So what happened is that, of course, Portland was stuck with a third a project, only a third of the way built, with towers all over the place, and they had to spend $60,000 to take them all down because they were now worthless. That was after pouring $250,000 into a project that never even got off the ground. I mean, I think that's a really good example of how and why these kind of projects are better left to the market, because they can make the better decisions on what kind of technology to put out there, and how best to serve the customers. And again, one of the other justifications for, forgive me, I am the InfoTech and Telecom News editor. This is my first time using PowerPoint. So, yes, Steve?
Click on your Ohio Telecom, and view on the upper left-hand corner from beginning.
Yeah, all right. Works. This is a map. The FCC came out with a report, typical for government. It was very late, but this is for 2007. High-speed providers as of December 31st, 2007, as you can see. You not be able to see that very well, because again, this is my first use of PowerPoint. I didn't get a very good image, I suppose. But all of the blue that you see are areas of the country where there are 7 or more private competitors or private companies that provide broadband service. And as you can see, really, Ohio is one of the better covered states in all of the country, with just tiny little areas of beige, which represents 1 to 3 service providers, just along very rural areas along the Ohio River. Orange, which is pretty much the rest of the country, 4 to 6 providers are in there providing consumers with broadband choices of at least 4 to 6 different providers. And the beige, of course, is 1 to 3, and the green, which is very small, well, unless you live in Maine, or in the Everglades. But as you can see, the color green is basically only in places where people actually don't live. And the idea that the government has to spend $9 billion to make sure everybody has access to the internet, I think this map put out by a federal agency, the Federal Communications Commission, kind of exemplifies why the government doesn't, not only is it bad at providing broadband services to people, it's really not even necessary, because the market is really providing all of these services for people. Are we question time now?
Yeah, if we have time, so if we need more time, that's fine.
Okay, no, that about wraps up my presentation, and I'd be happy to take questions from anyone on either things I've discussed or on the publication InfoTech and Telecom news in general.